Hello everyone, this is Jason Walls from CloudShark, and I'm here with Lorenzo Mangiani from HOMER SIP Capture, and today we are going to show you how to get captures into CloudShark using HOMER, and then how to do some of the VoIP analysis, and that includes, I'll show you how to apply a decode rule if you have an RTP stream that doesn't have any SIP traffic, and CloudShark doesn't necessarily know that it's RTP yet. You can assign that. I'll show you how to do that. And then how to use our VoIP analysis tool and the RTP playback tool. And then I'll also show you some bad captures with some data loss in them and how you can show that with graphs. And then Lorenzo is also going to show you HOMER SIP capture and how to get captures from HOMER into CloudShark and show you some of the cool new features in that. So let's go ahead and get started. And so I have a bunch of captures here that Lorenzo was nice enough to make for us using HOMER. If you already have the captures with you, you can upload them directly into CloudShark just by dragging them and dropping them in. But if you are going to use an external tool to get them in, and you're using CloudShark Enterprise, you can go to the API tokens. And here you can add API tokens. So if you have CloudShark Enterprise, you can make your own API tokens. You can assign them to particular users or particular groups. If you're the admin, users can make them too. And if you're using CloudShark Online, you can find your API token in the Preferences menu under API tokens. And this is the token that you'll take and you'll copy and paste into HOMER SIP Capture's configuration file, or any other tool you might be using, like maybe the Wireshark plugin. And that will allow you to upload your captures into CloudShark. So now I'm going to turn things over to Lorenzo, who will show you HOMER SIP Capture and how it works and how you can use it with CloudShark and how to get that all set up and ready to go.
All right, so hopefully you guys can see my screen already. So I'll just have a super brief introduction about HOMER and CloudShark. Actually, HOMER and CloudShark have been friends for a long time now. So this is like a really good moment as we also are walking into the new release of HOMER, which brings extended integration with CloudShark. So just very briefly, let's see what is HOMER and there we go. So HOMER has been around the block for a while. It's a completely open source VoIP capture and monitoring application. It is composed of a couple of parts that I'll briefly show you just after, but its main purpose is basically to be a centralized collection point for SIP signaling primarily, but it also deals with statistics, CDRs, and a whole bunch of analytic metrics and so on, which are related, of course, to troubleshooting VoIP scenarios and VoIP services. You can find everything about HOMER on our website, that's sipcapture.org, or on our GitHub repository, which you can see down the slide here. The main purpose of today, of course, is to show you guys the CloudShark interaction. But just before that, just to give you a sense of how HOMER works and why it makes sense to use CloudShark as an exporting facility for HOMER, just like many other systems. We have our capture agent technology integrated in many of the leading open source VoIP applications. So it's really easy to use HOMER to mirror signaling and packets from all of those platforms into a centralized point. Once you have them into the centralized point, of course, you can use them to do your investigation. But typically, our tool is deployed behind closed vaults, so it's not very easy or straightforward to share access to it or share data from it with your customers. And this is where CloudShark kicks in. And many of our customers and users have been using it now for a long time, and it just perfectly fits the role. This is more or less how typical scenario with HOMER works. So long story short, our system is able to get those packets mirrored from the platforms that handle actually the VoIP calls. And once those packets are in our database, we can reveal those sessions, and we also have our call flow generators and so on. But this is not the point. The point is, when you have this investigation, you need some more often than not to discuss it with your customer to show them, that the fault might be on their end of the network and so on and so forth. And it's really easy to do this with CloudShark. So in order to get this working, there are a few easy steps to be done in HOMER. The first step is, of course, to enable the cloud storage functionality. This is very easily done just by modifying 3 rows in the preferences of HOMER. That's the HOMER's API, actually. So API/preferences.php is the file that you'll be looking for. And at the end of it, you'd find those 3 parameters: cloud storage, which should be switched on just by setting it to 1, cloud storage API, and this is where you would store the CloudShark API key that Jason just showed you how to obtain out of the web application. So you just paste it here, and the storage URI, this would be just the cloudshark.org address. And this is used internally by HOMER to automatically upload any data that you would have into the application. And I'll show you an example of that. So here, this is a very simple case just for the purpose of showing you how it works. You can search for a session or a specific set of calls in HOMER, and they will be displayed in the tab results. When you open one of those sessions, we show you the call flow. So you can do your investigation, see the packets, and at some point you might want to share this with somebody else, a colleague, or the customer itself, which is involved with this investigation. To do this, you simply browse to the export tab of the call session details, and here you would find, if you configure and enable the cloud storage option, you would find this Share Cloud button. Just by clicking the button, the system will automatically rebuild the session, and it will upload it to CloudShark using the CloudShark API, and automatically give you back a confirmation with a link that you can share. At this point, it's pretty straightforward. You just click it, and there you have it. The session that you were using in HOMER is now available in CloudShark, and you can share the URL with the customer, the end user, and whoever is else involved with the investigation. This is, of course, for just SIP signaling. We also have, of course, options to share the full session, so SIP and RTP packets, directly through the CloudShark API. And at this point, as Jason will show you next, you will be able to use all of the advanced tools within CloudShark to perform analysis of the call quality and so on and so forth. So it's, once again, very straightforward to use HOMER to export data to CloudShark. All you have to do is just configure those few options, and off you go. It becomes immediately available in the export tab of the application, and it's, of course, available to all of the users within the application.
Great, thanks, Lorenzo.
If we have time later on at the end, I can also show you some live examples of the application. I think it's more interesting, of course, to see what you can do with those in CloudShark.
Yes, let's definitely do that. Okay, so let me go back to, so this is CloudShark Enterprise. So when Lorenzo was showing you the URL, if you're using CloudShark Online, then you would use https www.cloudshark.org for your server. But if you have your own copy of CloudShark Enterprise, obviously you put your own URL in there. And I have some of the ones that he's uploaded for us here, and then I have some other examples. So let me just go to one of those that has some SIP in it. Actually, this is all RTP. All right, this is a great example. So you can see that there's not really a lot of info here. You just see kind of a UDP dump. So what we can do here is go into decode protocol as and add a new rule. And we're going to go to UDP port. And the way these autocomplete is just great. So we'll select that port that you can see over here. And then we're going to come down here and find RTP. Now if I hit apply, now we'll see that this is a clear RTP stream. And Lorenzo, I don't know if is there actual SIP in these two? No, there's not. That's fine. So now that we have a clear RTP stream, we can go into analysis tools and go to RTP streams. And now we see what you kind of just saw in one of Lorenzo's slides there. As you can see, the the basics here. We give you some data on jitter and packet loss. And you can...
And just to be clear, CloudShark is not wrong here. This is a regression test, so it's supposed to be showing exactly that. So it's in line with what's expected from this test pickup that we shared from our regression test.
Exactly. So here's some audio in here. You can play it right from here. And you can see there was some loss, so the call's a little garbled. And we can also open this in a new window, and then you have a direct link to this analysis here that you can share with other people on your system or with other CloudShark users. And the playing capability is the same here. So let's go into something with some actual SIP traffic in. So one thing I do want to show you real quick before I show you the VoIP tool is if you did want to kind of extract only the SIP traffic from here without the RTP. You can see this filter. Now this filter becomes part of the URL, and so you can share that directly. Or if you want to make a new session that has only this traffic, you can go to export, create new session, and we'll actually apply the current display filter and split that out into a new capture that has only this. And then you can go into our ladder diagrams and pick this conversation, and you'll see kind of the back and forth SIP. But this is, so we have this ladder diagram tool that the VoIP tool uses. And this actually works for any protocol. But if we go into the actual VoIP tool, so that's my exported capture, so I'll go back to the other one. You can see that there was one call here. You can see the call flow up here and where the RTP begins. And we can play this call and hear it.
Hello, this is Jason.
Oh, hi, Jason. It's Joe again. Hey, sorry I missed your call.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
This is an example we had.
I just wanted to ask you about your barbecue next week.
So yeah, you can play back right in your browser. You can save these streams individually if you want. Another great feature about the ladder diagram is if there's stuff you don't care about. Let's say that this was much longer or there's multiple calls, you can get rid of some of these. And you can bring up the SIP statistics. As you can see, so here's a merged capture that doesn't actually have the timing is a little off because it was a merged capture, but I wanted to show you what the ladder diagram looks like if there's multiple calls. So if I go into ladder diagrams and I choose protocols and I just choose SIP, then you can see it's kind of a full diagram, and there's two separate calls going on here, but if there was any interaction, and you can get rid of these if you want. Let me see this. All right, so let's take a look at some graphs. We have some ones that we made here by just kind of artificially ripping some packets out. So I want a graph of all traffic. Oh, actually, let's go to streams. If we go to bandwidth by stream, you can see there's some chunks taken out here. And if you wanted to see just one stream or the other, you can get rid of them. Like I said, we did that by forcibly removing those packets. We didn't have an example of loss. So let's go into one of Lorenzo's captures here. And if I go to RTP streams again, let me apply the rule. And we go into RTP streams, and we see bandwidth by stream. Yeah. So you can definitely see the difference there. And like I said, if you save this, this is now a graph called bandwidth by stream, and you can take that URL and share it. The one other thing that I did want to show is that the difference between one of the things that we've added to CloudShark that Wireshark doesn't necessarily do is let you play back 722 and 729 streams. And that was functionality that we added by licensing the codec and putting it in there at the request of a lot of our VoIP customers. Okay. All right, so I think I've covered most of the basics of what I wanted to show you. So why don't I pass things off to Lorenzo, and he can show you kind of a live example of how to go from start to finish with this.
Excellent. So yeah, I'll just show you guys a quick example as of how it looks using the Wireshark exporting. So there's really two ways you can use HOMER to export data to CloudShark. One is what we've previously seen. So we can just go into our search tool. Oh, sorry, I got booted out of my own application. So we're going to just look, let's say, the last hour for calls on the system. I'll just pick one out here, and this is a pretty complex multi-hop session here as well, so you can see similarities with the call flow, and we're going to share it to CloudShark. So as I was showing you here, my machine is lagging a little bit. It will pop out the directly the link to the application. I think I crashed myself. But okay. For some reason, the web share is not showing this pop-up, but let's try it from here. So another really cool way to use CloudShark, I have to reload everything. Another really cool way to use CloudShark in this case is by deploying. All right, seems like I have a network issue here to my instance live. But yeah, nevertheless, I can describe it. So we have seen how we can export a single session that we're looking at into CloudShark, but you can also export time ranges from HOMER. So let's say that you were interested in dumping the last hour of traffic directly into CloudShark from HOMER. What you would do in this case is just select from the, just go to another instance. It's going to work. Here we go. Yeah. So I was saying another way to dump traffic directly into CloudShark from HOMER is just to select it as an output method. So this is the typical form where you can search for calls within the HOMER database. So you have, of course, remote URI from to call ID and whichever field you want. In this case, we'll just leave it empty. And the output usually is a table with the results. But here we can also choose cloud. And in this case, what the system will do is just take all of this traffic and export it directly to CloudShark. So here it is, export done. And by clicking the link, it will just take me to the CloudShark export for this call. So here you will see everything that was included in the time range that I was looking at in HOMER. So this is, again, really practical to share data between different work groups or even directly with the customers. And here, everything else, well, I'm not logged in, so I cannot show you anything about the session details, but you can get a sense of how easy and how native the integration is. So it's very easy. It just takes a second to activate. So anybody that's using both applications definitely should be giving it a try, because the potential for the functionality is really extensive, and all of our customers love it. So we can do nothing else but endorse it.
Great. Okay, that's most of what we have prepared for today. So I'm going to jump to questions. Have There's one question about showing some dedicated extension monitoring for debugging the worst calls. Lawrence, I wonder if that's something that you could show them.
I'm sorry, what's that again? I'm not seeing.
In the question box, they ask, can you show dedicated extension monitoring for debugging the worst calls? Not sure. Oh, I see. So you're saying a little more detail on that question, if you don't mind. Are you saying being able to monitor, like how do you monitor one particular call extension?
I'm sorry, I'm still trying to find the question.
Yeah.
Whatever reason.
That's fine. Yeah. So he's asking how you can capture one particular call extension.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So yeah, that's really easy actually. We can show that. So let's go back to the application. So let's make the direct example from here. So let's say that I'm looking at this bunch of calls and I'm only interested in extension 201 making calls. So what I would do is very simple. Go back to the search form and use it either as a from or to a URI. Just repeat the process. And at this point, I would only see calls or individual sessions. So if I want to only get one single call from this specific user, all I would have to do is click on the call ID, and the system would basically pull it together, and it'd be just ready to export. If I wanted to get everything from this user in a specific time range, so let's say that I was interested in calls from this guy in the last 3 hours, I would just select it, as you guys can see up here, last 3 hours from user 201, output CloudShark. And just by clicking search, it would just automatically export everything that belongs to this user in a given time range. And here we have it. So at this moment, we're looking at traffic for a specific user, which includes, of course, registration traffic and everything else that was performed during this time range. In this case, I really only track registrations. But nevertheless, this is the process.
Great. Let me grab control really quickly because somebody has a question about. So if you have an encrypted call and you have CloudShark Enterprise, one of the things you can do is CloudShark actually lets you manage your RSA keys. I don't have any examples here that I could show you, but what you can do is if you're the admin user of CloudShark can add RSA keys to the system. They're kept on disk, and only the admin user has access to them at that point. So it's pretty secure. And then I'll show you kind of what it looks like once you have a key that you know you want to be able to use to decrypt something. You can go in. Let's go to this one. So you would go to follow SSL, or where is it? Decrypt SSL traffic. And then there would be some RSA keys. You could add a new rule here to apply a particular key to a certain stream, and then it'll decode that stream, and then you can do all the things you normally be able to do with it. There's a question about what codecs are supported. In CloudShark, it's everything that Wireshark supports, and then in addition to that, G.722 and G.729. And somebody asked about saving the graphs as images. Yes, you absolutely can do that. Let me go get that bandwidth graph back up. So you can export as a PDF or as a JPEG or a PNG, and then you can share that way. If someone isn't on, if you don't want to give somebody access to your CloudShark system, or if they're not a CloudShark user. All right. Well, I was promising people to keep this under 30 minutes, and there we go. So if you do have any other questions, we can follow up with you afterwards. And we will be having more webinars in this series. And if you have any questions for either of us, like I said, you can find Homer at sipcapture.org, and they're on Twitter at sipcapture. And as you can probably tell, Lorenzo's really excited about this stuff. So if you have any questions about how Homer works, I'm sure he'd be more than willing to answer. And if you have any questions about how CloudShark works, we have a lot of resources on our support page and Twitter, and a lot of videos on our YouTube channel. And Lorenzo actually has a video of how to do all this stuff with Homer and CloudShark that you can see as well. All right, well, thanks again. I am making a recording of this, so if there's somebody that kind of want to watch this later, feel free to shoot me an email, and I'll send you a link to the webinar video.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, thanks again, Lorenzo, for joining us. It was really, really helpful and exciting. And everybody enjoy the rest of your day.